Hey everybody, John here with another Gamer Multiclass video, and today we're going to be assembling and organizing the miniatures and other components for Space Hulk. Okay, I've got the sprues here, Gene Stealers, and Space Marines. Got the tools, box lid to keep everything organized, sprue cutters, hobby knife for trimming flash lines or mold lines, and Testor's plastic glue. Now, a good rule of thumb when it comes to Games Workshop and 40K, the lore, universe, awesome, miniatures, awesome, rules, okay. But when it comes to tools, you can get third-party equipment for much cheaper and it'll work just as well in just about every case. So there's 12 different Space Marines, and the way they're laid out on the sprue, it kind of tells you what parts go with which, and they're numbered too, so I mean that really helps make it clearer. But it's very important when you do this, don't cut every piece off of the sprue and put them all in a big pile, because that's going to be a nightmare trying to figure out what goes with what. So just do one guy at a time and work from there. Okay, I'm going to start with the Librarian. Now, if you're new to the hobby, I have heard stories about people just kind of wiggling the pieces back and forth to try to get them off the sprue. Don't do that. If you're going to be doing 40K or any other miniatures game that uses plastic models on sprues, get these. It'll just make everything so much easier, and you won't damage your models in the process. Make sure you use plastic glue. Super glue, yes, it will work in the sense that it will bond the models together, but it's just a real pain. And plastic glue is designed for this. It works so much better. It doesn't run all over the place. You're not gonna stick your fingers together or stick your fingers to parts of the models if you get it on your fingers, because it just, for whatever the chemical makeup is, it doesn't bond skin, just plastic. Yeah, I'm gonna put a little bit more over here. I've got it in the hole, but I'm gonna put it on the edge where the shoulder meets the torso, just to give it more surface area and contact. There we are, one Terminator Librarian. One down. What is it? 33 to go. Okay guys, I've finished assembling most of the Terminators, and while working on these guys, one thought that came to mind is that Games Workshop often is the subject of a lot of criticism, and they get a lot of flack, but I think that one thing that really can't be disputed is the quality of the models and just how amazing so many of their miniatures are. So I've got the standard arm there. That's a design that's used on a lot of these Terminator models, but just love the way that this fits together. You got the head, the right leg, and then part of the torso, and just goes together so well. That's some really incredible engineering that they've done to get these pieces, to cut them that way and to get them to fit like that. Really good work. Okay guys, I'm going to start working on the Gene Stealers now. We've got 2 copies of this sprue. It has a bunch of regular Gene Stealers on it, plus some bases for the door tokens. And then we have 1 copy of this sprue, more bases, more regular Gene Stealers, plus the Brood Lord. There he is, both halves of him. So no numbers on these sprues like for the Space Marines, just helping you keep track of which pieces go where, but that's okay, because other than the Brood Lord, I think the maximum number of pieces that any of these gene stealers come in as 2, and there's even a few of them that are single piece models. Like, here's a good one. This guy coming up through the floor there. That's just 1 piece. Pop them off the sprue, clean off the bits, and you're done. This guy too, that's a single piece. So, yeah, overall much more simpler than the Marines. Okay guys, I finished putting together the gene stealers. That means all the models are assembled, and the only thing left to do now is to pop out the game board pieces and the tokens and counters. But before I get to that, just a few thoughts on some of these gene stealer models. So, something kind of strange about this sculpt. If you look closely, you might notice that he only has 5 limbs. So he's got both legs, both left arms, but he only has 1 right arm. It looks like he's missing the lower right arm. It's kind of, it almost, from this angle, it almost looks like it could be kind of tucked away, hidden behind the leg there. But then when you turn it over to the other side, it just looks kind of weird. And you can see that, yep, 5 limbs, missing an arm. And this is the kind of thing that, you know, when these are all on the table in the middle of a game, you're not really going to notice it. But it just makes me wonder why they did that. And I suspect it's because, due to the limitations of casting, and they wanted to get this, I guess they wanted to get this as 1 piece on the sprue, because this is one of those that didn't require any assembly. It's all there, ready to go once you cut them off. And then other thing that's interesting with this sculpt, so we have 2 different gene stealers here, but if you compare them, you can actually see that they're exactly symmetrical. So what Games Workshop did here was they took the 3D model and they simply mirrored it in their software, and then they just added, they sculpted 2 different bases for this miniature, for this model, and they got 2 different designs for it. Both of them, but between them they only have 10 limbs though. They should have 12. Alright. And then this guy here, he's just kind of a fun one. Out of all the gene stealer sculpts, I don't know, he just seems kind of almost whimsical to me. Like how he's, I like that detail where he's holding the Terminator head there. It feels like he should be reciting Hamlet, like alas, poor Yorick. Alright guys, time to start popping out some cardboard. I don't have a whole lot to say here because this is a pretty straightforward process. The only thing to keep in mind is that these tiles, this cardboard is very thick, so take your time when doing it. Work slowly so you don't rip anything, and push on it from a few different angles. That'll just, you want to just break that connection all the way around. That's all there is to it. Alright guys, all the minis are put together, all the board pieces and tokens are popped out, and I'll show you my organization system in a minute, but I just wanted to show you this one last thing first. So I have these bases that I printed and attached to each of the miniatures, and I'll probably make a separate video going over these in more detail, but the point of these is just to give, among other things, is to give the miniatures more stability. The sculpts are awesome, but on the other hand, the miniatures, the way they are, because of their dynamic poses and relatively small integral bases, they're very prone to being knocked over. But using these bases just fixes that quite nicely. Alright guys, one thing you're going to have to do once you assemble all the pieces and have everything popped out is figure out how you're going to store everything. I designed and printed out a tray to fit the various sizes of tiles and to keep all my stuff organized. You can see the different compartments there, and on the right side there's enough space to hold these oversized tiles, plus the rule books and White Dwarf number 33, which has some supplementary material for Space Hulk. And then on the left side over here you can see I have the various tokens and counters in the baggies. The hourglass also fits there. So do the dice, and so do the stands for the doors. And then on top of all this, put the miniatures. And there we go. So everything does actually fit in the box. I can get the lid on top and close it just fine. It's not the ideal solution for the miniatures. Normally I don't really like to just throw miniatures in the box like this, but it'll do for now. Eventually I might print out another tray to put on top of here, just to keep the miniatures in their own tray, and then I can just lift that out and then get access to the other pieces underneath. And then if I get around to painting these, at that point I definitely won't just throw them in there loose like that. I'll probably have to go with a separate box for the miniatures just to store them and keep the paint jobs safe. Alright guys, thought you might like a group shot of all the minis at once. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, leave any comments below, and don't forget to check out the Gamer Multiclass blog. Until next time, peace out and happy gaming.